Now, the White House, a spokesperson, said there'd been good progress on reaching US-China trade deal, despite Donald Trump's exceptionally large tariffs on Chinese imports and Beijing's hefty retaliation. And the US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has been talking in even more positive tones, and, as I mentioned earlier, Donald Trump himself has been giving a few hints about what might be happening. Well, I'm joined to talk about all this by our business reporter, Jonathan Joseph. Jonathan, first of all, well, what have we heard and from who?
We've heard quite a bit, Roger. In the last few minutes, President Trump himself has been talking to reporters in the White House, and he's been striking something of a more conciliatory tone when it comes to China, saying that tariffs would not be anywhere near 145%. It's not clear how and when things might change, but he seems to be rowing back on some of his more outlandish proposals, sort of perhaps opening the door to negotiations, saying that he would be very nice with Beijing, and that tariffs could fall significantly if there was a deal, but they wouldn't fall to zero. So that is something that US stock markets will be positive about, I expect, when they open again tomorrow. But it also echoes some positive comments from the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. I understand that he was speaking at a private event in Washington, and he said that no one thinks the current status quo is sustainable. And that's the situation where, at the moment, the US has announced tariffs of 145% on imports from China, and Beijing has retaliated with 125% tariffs for goods that go the other way around. Mr. Bessent went on to say that he thought there would be in the very near future some kind of de-escalation, and that should give the markets a sigh of relief. So It seems that there is a more positive tone.
Yes, and you say, that immediately perhaps something might happen, but the actual process, really, I mean, Scott Bessent was certainly not suggesting it was going to happen anytime soon.
No, that's right, Roger. He said that the goal wasn't to decouple relations between the US and China, but it seemed that there wasn't any suggestion that there would be a quick fix. He said it would be a slog, and that no one in the administration, that is of Donald Trump, believes that they have free and fair trade when it comes to China. So still a lot of complaints about unfair Chinese trade practices as the US perceives them. And Beijing would argue against some of that. But this suggestion is that it would be about that some kind of deal might be about a rebalancing between the consumer economy and manufacturing, because over the last 20 years or so, it's been Chinese manufacturing and American consumption that have been two of the key pillars of global economic growth. And the US seems to be wanting to rebalance that. At the moment, China is trying to increase consumption amongst its own citizens, and Donald Trump, as we keep hearing, wants to bring manufacturing back to America. So there may be some room there, but Mr. Bessent said that it could take 2 or 3 years for a deal to emerge, which would be similar to what we saw in President Trump's first term.
Indeed, a long haul. Thanks very much for that, Jonathan. And meanwhile, of course, in the background,